Oh, well, that was interesting. What did Jeff Capel say? The background here is Boeheim said Pitt bought their team, and so did Miami, and who else?
And Wake Forest,
and
I think he said.
Wake
Forest.
Forest.
When's the last time somebody said Wake Forest bought a team?
Let's stop there before we get to the apology.
Well, first of all, they bought a team that was predicted to go 14th in the ACC. So how much buying can you do? Why didn't he complain
well, second
then?
of all, they didn't buy a team. I mean, we're going to
did
you say we were bringing on Noah Hiles today?
Yes,
you don't think Jim Boeheim has bought anything over his career?
Did you see Brandon Knight's tweet?
What did he say?
Oh, let me find it for you.
No, Jim Boeheim is the ultimate hypocrite here. This guy's had a 100-win strip. They got in the early 90s. They got sanctioned, and then like 7 years ago they got sanctioned.
Yeah. He is just
this guy's unbelievable.
He is turned into an incrinculant bully. You know, he's
interesting word, incrinculant.
Just crinculant. Incrinculant is good. Crinculant is bad.
Then
so
a
crinculant bully.
Yeah, cringe-worthy bully.
I mean, in some ways, he always was. You know what I mean?
But there was a press conference the other day, where some student who's trying to become a journalist in some ways asked a question, which was a legitimate question.
Yeah.
He walked out of the room and made him feel like an idiot.
Yeah, he was doing that 15 years ago, too.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Done it for decades.
And then as far as Pitt goes, who did they buy? The entire country was looking for the guys Pitt brought in? Hinson was probably their most attractive transfer, and he's been out of basketball for 2 years.
I mean, play pickup like he told us on Friday.
Right.
And trash talk people.
Just an beyond irresponsible. And he's the type of guy, too, who would tell you, what this reminds me of is the old correction in the paper, which you have to run. People make mistakes. I get it. But guys like Boeheim will tell you, the correction does a lot of good after you said the other day that I've cheated 10 times in my career. Well, made a mistake. Here's the old correction. So his correction doesn't mean a lot to me, or his apology, and obviously didn't mean a lot to Capel, because Capel today, what did he say?
Jeff Capel said, quote, "I have no comment. I have no reaction to it. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I have no comment on anyone else's opinion."
So if Capel wanted to let Boeheim off the hook for the apology, he would simply say, I get it. He's a Hall of Fame coach. Tons of respect for him. Worked with my mentor, Coach K, many times in USA basketball. He obviously misspoke, and he's apologized. I accept the apology. That's not what he said.
There was a part of me that wanted to see him fight back a little bit. I wanted to see Jeff Capel take him on.
This is Brandon Knight.
Yes.
Okay. Tweets this out. Rutgers assistant now, right? This sounds like sour grapes. Next time, ask Jim Boeheim how many times he bought before NIL was legal. Don't throw stones in a glass house. Remember, you've been coaching a lot of years, and a lot of us know who got paid.
Oh, that's the tweet of the year.
That's from Brandon Knight.
Ron, that's worth repeating. Please repeat that again. And this is Brandon Knight, by the way, at a time, and I've always wondered, with Jamie Dixon at Pitt, he was competing against two convicted cheaters. That's Calhoun and Boeheim. So at least two. And Patino for part of the time, correct?
Yep.
So, and as far as I know, and anybody knows, and anybody I've ever talked to, Pitt ran a clean program. So this is Brandon Knight.
Brandon Knight, now an assistant at Rutgers. This sounds like sour grapes. Next time, ask Jim Boeheim how many teams he bought. Now, he used at the real Boeheim, so Boeheim would see it.
Wow.
How many times he bought, teams he bought before NIL was legal. Don't throw stones in a glass house. Remembering you've been coaching a lot of years, and then this is the line I love, and a lot of us know who got paid. 4 different exclamations at the end of it.
That was good.
That's one of the greatest sports tweets ever. For him to have the cojones to put that out there to Boeheim.
Well, somebody had to.
At Jim Boeheim, at the real Boeheim is his Twitter handle.
That's a prominent college basketball coach. I mean, Brandon Knight is on the top of lists everywhere now because Rutgers has had a revival here, and he's the associate head coach and top assistant.
He's putting his neck out on the line, I guess. But it's for the truth. What he believes the truth is.
I don't think he'll be hired on Boeheim's staff anytime soon.
Defending his Pitt program, I guess.
That is incredible.
Incrinculant,
Bob. It is
incrinculant.
How about this guy, Ron? You wrote about him today. Is he the ultimate hypocrite? Is he going to have, or has he already had, his Woody Hayes moment in terms of the things he says? I don't think he's going to punch a player, although I might not put that past him at this point, but an opposing player. But he's he's teetering right now, is he not?
Yeah. He doesn't like the system changes because it isn't helping him. They're not going to make the tournament, barring a miracle, this year for the second year in a row. He's trying to hang on forever. How about him saying, I can do whatever I want?
He might be right about that.
I know. But, I mean, I wonder just I guess a guy like that doesn't have bosses.
Why are there so many defenders of Jim Boeheim?
Because he's won. And
he
because,
hasn't won a lot lately.
Because he's won, and because there's no more ass-kissing contingent of media than college basketball writers kissing coaches' behinds. That's why. That's one reason why.
You might be right about that, because no matter who you are, there's never a bad thing written about anyone until it absolutely has to be written.
That's right. And also, I mean, obviously the people in Syracuse, he's the ultimate homegrown coach.
47 years he's been there, plus playing there, right? I mean, who wants to coach and who wants to live in Syracuse?
And who
wants to recruit players to Syracuse?
Right. And how he treated Andy Katz. Do we have that clip from last week there?
Let me pull it up.
Called him an idiot.
And Andy Katz didn't even
go
to Syracuse.
Stupid, like you called me stupid, Bob.
I didn't call you
He called
stupid.
him an idiot.
I did not
These
call
guys
you
will
stupid.
confirm that you called me stupid.
I did not call you stupid. I called your argument stupid.
It was teetering, Bob, just like Boeheim.
That's
Are
not
you going to
true.
have it? That might have been your Boeheim moment that day.
I don't have Boeheim
that you called Ron stupid.
I didn't call him stupid. You were there.
Did he call him stupid, Falsey?
He called me stupid.
I did not.
Well, this is what guys like Boeheim, if you cover college basketball nationally and he perceives that you've done something wrong to him, this is what he does to people like Andy Katz.
Jim, what is the series with UConn meant to you at Syracuse?
I'll ask anybody's question but yours. But you're an idiot. And really a disloyal person.
Disloyal person.
I wonder why he was disloyal. Who's more of a disloyal person than Jim Boeheim?
Now, having said that, I'll repeat everything with conviction that I did on Friday. Before this ever happened, believe it or not, Boeheim was a topic for Ron and I Friday because he snapped on that reporter about the guy who missed the game for Syracuse. Did you hear that, Bob? You heard that clip last week?
No, I didn't hear that clip.
Do we have that clip for Bob? Before we get into this was one of their players suddenly didn't play in a game.
Oh, and then I did hear that.
Boeheim knew, he was told he was going to get, obviously he's going to get asked about, but he was also told.
But it was a student who was asking, right?
I think.
A student on the newspaper.
Yeah.
What's the status on Benny Williams?
Is that your question? That's the most important question you have?
He wasn't on the court today.
Is that your most important question here?
I'm just curious, he wasn't on the court.
I will answer it.
All right.
Your attitude isn't really good either. Benny took a personal day. He will be back at practice on Wednesday. That's it? Do we have that question? That's all we have? That's typical in Syracuse.
He's a sweetheart.
I'll repeat what I said, though. I'm glad he's been part of college basketball.
I looked up Andy Katz. I thought maybe he went to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Why did he call him disloyal?
I don't know. What did he do?
I thought
he maybe wrote a negative thing.
No, but I mean, I get that, but why would you call him disloyal? I guess he probably thought they were friends or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I just thought maybe he
it.
went to Syracuse, and so many of these guys have gone to Syracuse. But I look up Andy Katz. He went to Wisconsin.
Having said all of this, I would much rather go to a Jim Boeheim news conference than 95% of the other coaches in all of sports because of that. Because he's a guy who just says what he
used to
on
be.
His mind.
When I'd call him, and I got two stories for him. I'd call him, and you couldn't schedule an appointment. Like you couldn't. His secretary couldn't tell you call at 2:00. But if you called at 2:00 and he was unavailable, he was unavailable. But if you call at 2:00, he's available. He gets on the phone, and and when he was done, he made it clear he was done. But I covered the Final Four in New Orleans, and I passed him on the street about 3 a.m, just walking the streets. I mean, probably couldn't sleep. And was that the year they lost Indiana? Was that the Keith Smart game?
Might have been. I think it was.
I think so. I just vividly remember him, and I kind of said, hey, coach, I said, hey, Jim. I don't call people coach. I said, hey, Jim, and he grunted hello and kept walking. Probably just couldn't sleep, so was walking the streets of New Orleans.
Do you think he's like that
Wow.
in his regular life? Because I
Like
ask
what?
that grumpy all the time. Like people think Belichick. Belichick has a really good sense of humor.
People say he's incredibly funny.
He's very funny. A lot of people are like that. Do you think that's just a stage thing, or with him it seems like it's a natural grumpiness that just never goes away? What do you think?
I think probably natural, but again, I'm glad that characters like that still exist in sports, college, pro, whatever, because 95% of them are a waste of time to go hear them speak. This guy's entertaining. Might not like what he says.
I felt so bad for him. Wasn't he involved in an accident where he slipped on ice and killed somebody? Right? That was last year, the year before,
so,
right?
Yeah.
Terrible. An interesting guy.
Jeff Capel said he did speak with Jim Boeheim after his comments were made public. He was not willing to share what was discussed.
How do we think that went?
Well, Boeheim in his points that he talked to all the coaches involved. So I guess he called Larinaga in Miami and the guy at Wake Forest.
What prompted that? Was there anything that prompted it, or he just came out of the cold and just said, you know what?
I think it was general talk of NIL and how he hates it, and how he said it drove Jay Wright out of the game.
Roy
Coach
Williams.
K.
And Coach K,
K, right.
Said it drove them out of the
game.
game.
I think the topic was about his retirement. When are you going to retire soon?
Yeah.
And then he got into that.
Into NIL, to which I agree with Ron's column from today. Mike Bray's quote, these guys have made millions upon millions of dollars. You might not like NIL. You might not like the transfer portal. You better figure a way around it.
The way the game is today, right?
Quit your bitching and moaning and go win that way.
It is what it is, and you have to do what you can. And Pitt's certainly done that well this year. They've been one of the better teams.
What time is Boeheim speaking, Matty? At like 11:50.
11:50, yeah.
Be interesting to see what he says.
Nobody else really enjoyed it when Coach K and before him, of course, everybody ripped Calipari when he was the first one.
He was ahead of the game.
But then everybody else was doing it. How much fun was that for other teams? You're just going to take an NBA guy for 1 year and build a new team every year. Right. Guess what? We can all do stuff like that now. So if that's the reason you're leaving the game, and I'm not sure Boeheim's accurate about that either with Jay Wright or with Coach K, but if that's the reason, see ya. And credit to Capel for at least this year. Credit to Capel for
playing the game the way the system works.
Building his, it's like fantasy teams. You have a new one, you draft a new one every year.
Yeah, but what happens is you better be on with it, or else you bring in a bunch of guys who aren't, and then you stink, and then you're going to have to dig out of that mess.
Right.
But it's not the way it used to be, and that's like everything else. Change happens, and you have to adjust to the change. If you're going to play the game, if you're going to make what you make as a salary for these coaches, then you're going to have to play the game.
Yeah.
And it's best not to even complain about it because you're not doing yourself any good.